Good afternoon, and welcome to today's event, Kickstart Your Career Through Sophe Leadership. My name is Elaine Ahl, and as Sophe's Chief Executive Officer, I'm excited to be your moderator this afternoon. As the Sophe CEO, I'm often asked how I progressed through my own career, and I've recounted the many leadership lessons I've learned in being involved in professional associations and beginning my career in a Sophe chapter. So I hope today's event gives you the ideas on how Sophe has many opportunities that you can pursue to advance your own career. I want to thank everyone for attending today's event, and a special welcome to our Sophe non-members who are all in the listen-only mode today. For just a few housekeeping details, we will look forward to your questions at the conclusion of today's speakers, but we want you to feel free to add your questions at any time during the presentation via the Q&A box. And like all good health educators, let us know your feedback, both positive and areas for improvement, so that we can help plan future events. Today's webinar is being recorded and will be available on Sophe's YouTube channel within 48 hours. So let's get on with today's agenda. We have 4 outstanding guest speakers, all who are current Sophe board members and our national Sophe president. We'll be talking about the many recorded CE opportunities that you have to build your leadership career. We'll be debuting a brand new course on Sophe leadership that we're just kicking off today. And it's also the kickoff to Sophe's 2021 nominations season for all elected officers. So again, a quite full agenda, and glad we're here. Now it's my pleasure to introduce to you Sophe's trustee for the recently completed 2021 Digital Experience Annual Meeting, Dr. Darcy Sharf. And let me tell you, that was one exceptional conference. Darcy, who also started her Sophe career in a Sophe chapter, will tell you about some of the leadership related recorded opportunities Sophe has available, so you can learn and grow in the comfort of your own dorm, home, or even your local Starbucks. Darcy?
Hello, my name is Darcy Sharf, and I chaired the 2021 Sophe DX meeting. Thank you for attending to those who are able to. If you were unable to attend, you still have the opportunity to gain access to our sessions on our eLearn at Core LMS. But first, a few highlights from the conference. Conference reached over 865,000 people using our conference hashtag. They became part of a conversation about the sessions and engaging online events. Overall, our participants valued the content, liked the breakout sessions, and appreciated the ability to network. We offered a variety of unique session types this year. And people are still visiting our conference site. You can still purchase the Sophe 2021 DX Annual Conference Package using this QR code. We also have available the on-demand conference packages for the Advocacy Summit and Digital Health Summit. Finally, check out our newly released bundles that you can register for now. I hope you all will take advantage of these great opportunities.
Thank you, Darcy. And now I'm excited to give you a very special preview of a new Sophe leadership project hot off the presses. You are actually among the very first audiences to learn about this. And it's my pleasure to introduce to you Dr. Kirsten Rogers, our Sophe trustee for professional development. Kirsten was our mastermind who conceived and developed this course, which was almost a year in the making. Kirsten?
Thank you so much, Elaine. And I'm thrilled to be here to give you this preview, hot off the press, course description of Uplifts. This is a cutting-edge educational experience that Sophe is offering, and it's really for leadership for those in public health education, healthcare, and health-related fields. As one of the developers, as Elaine mentioned, and an instructor for this course, I'm really excited to introduce you to this learning opportunity. So Uplifts is, as I mentioned, a cutting edge, one of the first courses in the field of public health to really take these cross-cutting skills that were determined back in 2017 by the de Beaumont Foundation and really relate them to the skills that health educators and other healthcare professionals need in the field. So I'm really excited to talk a little bit more about how this works. So we have skills such as change management, persuasive communication, systems thinking, problem solving, resource management, and of course, diversity and inclusion that are really key for the advancement of our fields. It is a 10-hour course that is broken into 5 modules that address these and other skills that leaders have published and are in our foundational theories that really teach us how to apply. This is going to advance people who are in leadership positions or who would like to be in leadership positions, not only paid leadership positions, but also as volunteers. The ultimate goal for learners is really to apply these key leadership skills to create high-functioning teams, organizations, and of course, cross-sector partnerships. So who should enroll? We really feel that anybody who wants to lead should enroll. We have designed this course in particular for advanced level practitioners, and that in our minds was a minimum of 2 years work experience in the field. But we also recognize that there are a lot of folks who would also like to learn these core concepts. So I think one of the things that we should keep in mind is it's for anybody who wants to advance their career and anyone who has an interest in cutting edge principles of leadership. So what does Uplifts offer? It really offers the convenience and flexibility for self-directed learning while also providing opportunities for live engagement. That's something that these days I think we're all very hungry for. So the course will be offered in June and again in November with 2 sessions that are completed on your own time, so self-directed through Sophe's Center for Online Resources and Education. And then we'll have 2.5-hour sessions that are live with a cohort designed to provide meaningful learning experiences from instructors as well as those in the cohort. So this platform really offers learners with a balance of course content and delivery that allows for both introspective thought, activities, case studies, and dialogue. And then of course the live sessions are facilitated through discussion, breakout rooms, and instructor-led presentations. As I mentioned earlier, this course does offer 10 continuing education contact hours, and they are all advanced. It also qualifies for NCHEC's continuing competency requirement. So why would you choose Uplifts? There are other leadership courses out there, but I'm here to tell you that this is really one of the ones that is the most advanced and emerging in our field. So health education as a field, as we know, is evolving, and HESPA 2020 areas of responsibilities and competencies really reflect the need for health educators to increase leadership skills. And this is particular in the leadership, management, communication, and ethics areas of responsibilities. By integrating these cross-cutting skills that were identified in public health, and then also the emerging needs of health education professionals due to COVID-19 and other health crises, Uplifts teaches learners how to apply these leadership skills, not just the theory and the foundations, but actually how to practice them. In the first module, we focus on personal leadership and allow learners to assess emotional intelligence, personal leadership strengths, and encourage learners to set goals and objectives. We do use case studies and activities throughout. In Module 2, we focus on teams, so creating inclusive, diverse, and equitable teams and work environments. In Module 3, we talk about conflict. Conflict is really about change, so we use our emotional intelligence techniques, self-awareness, problem solving, all to navigate difficult situations and create safe and productive spaces. Module 4, we talk a little bit more about organizational leadership and how to prepare learners to change. and focus on applying effective and persuasive communication to promote growth. And finally, in our last module, we take all that we have learned in these 4 modules and we apply it to a system. So we talk a lot about how to create these sector partnerships, but also how to create trans-organizational systems that will help sustain partnerships over time. So as I mentioned, we will be offering uplifts twice this year in 2021. The first offering is coming up soon. It is going to be June 8th and 15th will be when we have our live sessions. All materials for the pre-session will be emailed out to registered participants on May 26th and available on Sophe's Core. And that will be finishing up June 15th. The live sessions are from 12 to 2:30 Eastern Time. Then, if you're not able to make the June offering, we do have it offered again in November. In November, it will be the same setup with the live sessions occurring November 2nd and November 16th, again from 12 to 2:30 p.m. So if you'd like to register, which we hope you do, we'd love to see you there, you can use this QR code to register today. Thank you. And I'd like to turn it over to Antonio Gardner. He is our trustee for Sophe membership and nominations and an assistant professor at Mississippi State University. He's going to be telling us a little bit today about Project LEAD.
Thanks, Kirsten. For the next portion of this webinar, we will discuss important information related to Sophe leadership. Agenda items include an overview of our mission, vision, and value statements, along with our new strategic plan, the organizational structure of Sophe, the roles and responsibilities of trustees, and opportunities to get involved within Sophe. Sophe's vision statement is a healthy world through health education. This supports the mission statement, which is supporting leaders in health education and promotion to advance health equity in communities across the globe. Sophe's values include responding to the needs of its members, delivering quality products and services, demonstrating integrity, accountability, and transparency, promoting teamwork and collaboration, embracing diversity, and respecting organizational tradition while encouraging innovation. On this slide, you will see the overall composition of Sophe's infrastructure, which can be found in our bylaws on the Sophe website. We have 3 main operating units inclusive of the House of Delegates, the Board of Trustees, and the Executive Committee. Think of Sophe's organizational structure in the same way that you would think of the 3 branches of government in the United States government. The House of Delegates will be equivalent to the House of Representatives in the legislative branch of government. The Board of Trustees will be equivalent to the Senate in the judicial branch of the government, and the Executive Committee will be equivalent to the President and his or her cabinet in the executive branch of government. The Board of Trustees is comprised of 20 members, which have turnover every 2 years except the President-elect, student trustee. The House of Delegates has 4 elected delegates from the House of Delegates. The Executive Committee is comprised of the President, President-elect, immediate past President, Secretary, Treasurer, and Speaker of the House. The CEO, Elaine Auld, currently acts as president as the staff to the Board of Trustees, and is an ex officio member of both the board and the Executive Committee. Sophe chapters provide the local connections to health education programs and boots on the ground advocacy. There are currently 22 chapters that cover more than 35 states, Western Canada, and Northern Mexico. The blue identifies those states that do not have an existing chapter, while yellow are our current local chapters. Sophe chapter membership is independent of national Sophe membership with their own unique benefits. We urge you to find out more about your local Sophe chapter or consider starting one in your region by consulting the Sophe website. Resources to assist you with starting a local chapter can be found using the QR code provided on this slide. Sophe recently transitioned to its new strategic plan for 2021 through 2025. We have 4 strategies with the accompanying goals. The first strategy is to strengthen health education and promotion capacity to achieve health equity. The corresponding goals are to provide pre-service and in-service development opportunities to achieve health equity and increase the diversity of the profession, and expand leadership development to include anti-racism training that ensures an infrastructure for equity inclusion. The second strategy is to advance health education and promotion pedagogy, practice, and research. The corresponding goals are to increase the reach and impact of Sophe's peer-reviewed journals and promote emerging and promising areas for health education research, practice, and pedagogy with a focus on scientific gaps, efforts that address social determinants of health. The third strategy is to promote and advocate for health equity enhancing systems and policies. The corresponding goals here are to strengthen advocacy impact and effectiveness to address health promotion, prevention, and health equity priorities, and increase public and partner knowledge and support for the profession of health education and promotion as leaders in health equity. The final strategy is to support operational excellence to achieve the greatest public health impact possible, and its corresponding goals are to strengthen Sophe's operational performance practices and ensure organizational policies and procedures that promote anti-racism and advance health equity. Now I would like to introduce you to the current president of Sophe, Dr. Deborah Fortune, who will discuss board member responsibilities. Dr. Fortune, the floor is yours.
Good afternoon, everyone. And thank you, Dr. Gardner, for this opportunity to speak to members today. Thank you all for your interest in becoming a leader with Sophe. It is a rewarding experience and an opportunity to contribute to your profession. The Board of Trustees serve as the oversight and governance body of Sophe. I would like to mention some of the main responsibilities today, but we're not limited to these, but these are some of the main ones that we focus on. We do strategic planning every 3 to 5 years, where we review and update our vision and mission statement along with the strategies and goals. Dr. Gardner just presented to you our new, strategic plan, which included our new vision statement, mission statement, as well as our strategies and goals. And also the Board of Trustees hire or select and evaluate the performance of the CEO of Sophe. We also have a resource development committee with members from our Board of Trustees serving on their board of the Resource Development Committee. They work with the resource development staff around ensuring adequate resources for Sophe. And continuing on, we also provide guidance to the CEO around managing our resources effectively. Additionally, we have input about the program and services offered by Sophe. Excuse me. Also, as an oversight responsibility, we do hold Sophe accountable in terms of making sure that the work is conducted from a legal and ethical perspective, as well as in terms of being on the Board of Trustees. We also serve as representative of Sophe in various settings, and we always want to enhance Sophe's image as well as its standing to the community. Last but certainly not least, the Board of Trustees recruit as well as nominate people to serve to run for the Board of Trustees. And once our board has been elected, then the Board of Trustees members will assist with providing training and orientation for new board members. Now I will turn this back over to Dr. Antonio Gardner. Thank you for this opportunity to speak.
Thank you, Dr. Fortune. As the trustee for membership and nominations, it is my honor to announce that the call for nominations for the Board of Trustees is upon us. The positions that will be on the ballot this fall are President-elect, Student Trustee, Secretary, and Trustees for Professional Preparation, 2023 Annual Meeting, Research and Ethics, Communications, and Membership and Nominations. You will notice that all positions are 2-year commitments with the exception of the President-elect and Student Trustee positions. The President-elect would serve as the President-elect in 2022, the President in 2023, and the immediate past President in 2024. The Student Trustee position is voted upon by membership annually. Please mark your calendars. We will host part 2 to this webinar on June 7th at 2 p.m. Eastern Time. During this session, we will take a deeper dive into the positions, which will be on the ballot this fall. We want you to engage with the current trustees to get firsthand information about what it takes and what it is like to serve in these positions so that you can make the most informed decision about running for office. Again, please make plans to join us on June 7th at 2 p.m. Eastern Time for part 2 to this session. Some things that we would like you to consider about running for a trustee position include whether you have relevant preparation or experience based on the duties of the position at the national or chapter level or in other organizations, your time commitments personally and professionally and with other organizations, and roles that you can play to help Sophe to accomplish its strategic plan and objectives. If you are not yet ready to serve in a trustee capacity, it is okay. We encourage you to get involved with Sophe elsewhere and serve in leadership roles there. We have several active committees and task forces such as the Membership Committee, the Professional Development Committee, and the Health Equity and Anti-Racism Task Force, just to name a few in which you can get involved. And you can serve as a co-chair of the national committees that have vacancies. Sophe has 14 active communities of practice which require leaders. Some of the communities of practice include environmental health, global health, health disparities and health equities, and public health nutrition. We have 3 peer-reviewed journals, Health Education and Behavior, Health Promotion Practice, and Pedagogy and Health Promotion, in which you can serve on the editorial board or become a reviewer. You can also serve in a leadership capacity in your local chapter of Sophe, review abstracts for the annual meeting, and or serve in any other voluntary capacities where there is a call for volunteers. The overarching message is get involved. We want Sophe to assist you in accomplishing your career goals. Now we'll turn it back over to Elaine.
Thank you very much, Dr. Gardner. Thanks also to Darcy, Kirsten, and Antonio, and Deborah for those wonderful overviews of ways we can grow our leadership experiences. I think I can speak to all of our presenters today in underscoring that getting involved in Sophe as your professional home can be both personally and professionally rewarding. Now let's hear it from you. What kind of questions do you have for our distinguished panel today? I'm looking for some of those questions in the chat box. I'd love to hear from you. And just to kick it off, if you don't mind, since we have Dr. Fortune here, our Sophe president, maybe I would like her to just briefly share how she got her start as the highest elected office for Sophe. Dr. Fortune?
Thank you. Well, I started out similar like some of what you said in the beginning, Elaine. I first became a member of of a local chapter. I used to live in Tennessee, so I was a member of Tennessee Sophe long time ago. And then I moved to North Carolina and got involved there. And in North Carolina, I served as the chair of the scholarship committee for a couple of years and put some things in place. And in terms of working with Sophie, the activities that I started out with, I first started out being a reviewer for the abstracts for the annual conference. I was also a co-chair of one of the committees. And then eventually, I did the review for many, many years. And so at this point, a couple of years ago, they asked me would I consider running. And I had a lot on my plate at work. And I said, I don't think so this year, because something that you really have to consider. I know it's a little sidebar, is you want to make sure that you have the time to commit to being on the board. It is a lot of work, but it's a rewarding experience. And so then a couple of years ago, when they asked me to run, I said, I think I'm ready. I've served in various capacity with Sophie. And I forgot, one of the biggest roles that I had was serving as on the board of trustee for the annual conference for 2015. And so then when I was asked a couple of years ago, would I consider running, I said yes, because I knew then I had time at my university to make this commitment. And voila, I was successful at winning that position. And so it's been a great experience. I learned a lot during my president-elect time. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Fortune. Thank you. I think you bring up a really excellent point about thinking about the amount of time. We all have very busy lives, and especially this past year, it's been even more challenging. And so I wonder if any of our panelists would like to respond to opportunities that students who have a very limited time, often they're working on top of going to school full time. What kinds of committee roles or other volunteer opportunities can they put their foot in the water but may not be ready to dive right in?
Yes, I'll start. So directly under the trustee role for membership and nominations, we have the membership committee. And so that's a great opportunity for students to get involved with Sophie. We really value student member experiences and input on how we can get students engaged in Sophie, and hopefully they'll transition into being involved with Sophie at the professional level as well. Even within the membership capacity, there's an opportunity, we call it the Collegiate Champions Program. And so that's our Student Ambassadors Program for each university. So you will be the liaison between Sophie and your university. And there are various projects that you'll take on behalf of Sophie and on behalf of the profession to expose individuals to not only the organization, but what we do in the profession. And so that's at least a 1-year commitment for undergraduate and graduate students who are eligible to take that on. And there are various scholarship opportunities available on top of all of these opportunities to keep you engaged with the work of Sophie as an organization. So we definitely have opportunities for you to get involved. Maybe you don't end up being the lone student trustee, but there are other ways to get involved with Sophie for sure.
Kirsten, did you want to add to that?
That's great. Yeah, so I'm thinking of 2 opportunities in particular. One that's very relevant to my current position, and that is serving on one of the work groups for the annual conference 2022 in St. Louis. And in particular, we're looking for students to serve on the student engagement work group, but we also like to have students on the other work groups such as social events, abstract review, etc. We really find that when students participate in the planning of the conference, they tend to see more of what they want to get out of the conference. So whether it's a student social activity, whether it's a particular topic or theme that students are interested in, that's something we want to make sure at the annual conference that we're providing. So I invite you, if you are a student, and it doesn't require too much time. We like you to be able to meet once a month on your work group calls, and of course do some work in between the calls. But we would love to have you join us in that social event or student engagement work group. The other opportunity that I was thinking of, past chair of the professional preparation committee, is that we also like to get student perspective and a student role on that particular committee that is about providing resources, providing educational opportunities to faculty, staff, and students in health education or public health or health related preparation programs. And so we always love to get our students involved in that as well. So those are just two opportunities. They don't have more than a year commitment. And again, it's what you put into them is what you get out of them. And I will ditto both what everybody has said today, which is it's a very rewarding experience, and you get to practice your leadership skills as well if you take on one of those chair committees or if you take on a leadership position.
Thank you, Kirsten. Since you mentioned the upcoming call for abstracts that's open, could a student or other individual who has more limited time participate in the abstract process, and just about how many hours or amount of time would that require?
Yes, that's a great question, Elaine. I think we're probably looking at a couple hours a week. I think one of the things that we like to do is we want to make sure that this is feasible for everybody who serves on the committee, and understanding that students have a lot of things going on, as well as professionals. So it's very manageable. A couple hours a week would be something that we would say. And of course, the period of time where we're going to be getting abstracts in and then sending them for review is between June, I'm going to say June and September. So that would be the really crunch time. That's the time that we would ask you to dedicate those hours.
Okay, so it could be a few hours between June and September before the academics
That's right.
season starts. Awesome. We had one question coming in from our viewers asking about, are all time commitments created equal for different leadership opportunities? And I think we've heard a little bit of a span between it could take a couple of hours for reviewing an abstract or the annual conference, or even our advocacy summit, which is open now, or it could be more involved in terms of leading a committee or community of practice, which could take several hours a month over the course of a year. So you have a wide range of getting involved, and it has to go back to the amount of time and readiness that you have, as Dr. Fortune mentioned. Antonio, I'd like to ask a few questions of you as leading up our nominations process this year. Can you tell us a little bit more about how that process works within Sophe in terms of our nominations committee, and are there particular skills that you're looking for this next for the next phase of Sophe's leadership?
Yes, so I'll speak to the nominations process immediately. A lot of people aren't familiar with the nominations process, but if you review the bylaws, in a nutshell, what we do with the nominations process is we form a nominating committee, and that nominating committee is made up of 2 House of Delegates members, 2 Board of Trustees members, a past president of Sophe, a student trustee, and myself, who is the nominations committee trustee. And so what we do there is we have to get the board approval for that nominations committee. And once the board has approved that, which happened at our last meeting last week, at the Board of Trustees meeting, we can proceed with the nominations process. So you started to see some advertisements related to the positions, and you'll receive a formal call for nominations in the next news you can use. And there'll be links available so that you can submit your application to be reviewed by the nominations committee. What the nominations committee does is we review candidates based on their experience relevant to the position, their commitment to diversity, equity, inclusion, which is very important to our organization. We look at previous work experience. We look at even your background and what contributions individually you can make. So those unique qualities that you bring to the tables that we think will complement the current Board of Trustees. So those are all the factors that we take into consideration. And what happens from there is the nominations committee has to identify 2 candidates per position. So this is what we call the slate in the bylaws. And so from those two positions, the membership gets to vote on those or that one individual who will represent each trustee role. So from those slates of two, one individual will be selected for each position. And so the membership application process, well, the application process, you'll start to see those links soon in the emails from Sophie. And then we'll review applications throughout the summer, make sure that we have the slate together. And in the fall is when the membership will actually vote on the candidates. And then near the end of the fall, all candidates will be notified of their position, whether they were elected or not, and to Sophie. And then we'll proceed with orientation late around winter time, orientation for new trustees, and then you'll be inducted as an officer officially in the spring of next year, around our annual meeting. And so that's the process. But definitely we're looking for that if you don't have work experience, relevant experience, again, serving on various committees within the organization. For example, if you're running for professional development, professional preparation, we like to see some experience with professional preparation, either within Sophie or within another organization. And we'd like to see that on your resume or CV as well, where you've documented that you have some experience in the area, in that area. Secretary, the same thing, documentation on your experience serving as a secretary at maybe the chapter level or within one of your task forces. You were the person who was documenting everything that was happening within the task force or within your work group. That is very helpful and really makes the difference and helps you to move up in the process to make the slate, potentially make the slate for selection by the membership. Dr. Fortune, do you have any additional qualities? I know you've been around for a while, and I want to make sure that our recommendations align with our vision and with our leaders as well. So Dr. Fortune and Elaine, even I'd like for you to share your thoughts on potential leaders within the board.
Well, I think you did a great job with describing the process, the nomination process and how the slate comes about. And I think in terms of one of the things I think a person has to ask him or herself, am I interested in doing this? You have to, am I interested? Do I want to? I mean, because you are volunteering, your time. And as the president, with that question, what Elaine asked, are all the positions created equally? No, they're not. And so, I mean, I kind of laughed because I told Elaine I have carved out all the Wednesdays of the month for Sophie. Wednesday afternoon is dedicated to Sophie, but that's just for the president-elect and the president, because we have a lot more meetings in terms of more than just the board of trustee. So one, I think you have to have an interest. I think you have to have the time. And I think it does help. Let's say, look at the presidency. If you bring some leadership experience to the board, it doesn't always have to be that you've been a president. Leadership takes places in many different forms, but I think it helps if you have some leadership experience. And also, I think another thing, you have to have a desire, I think, and a willingness to learn. There are opportunities for board development with Sophie, as well as there are opportunities outside of Sophie that Elaine, you normally share information with us and links and so forth, and there are trainings. So I would put that in. And I guess another thing that I would say, I think any person who serves on a board, I think that you have to be willing to accept critique, and criticism. Because I think that you have to be willing, because how do you make something better if you can't hear another perspective? And so I think that's a important characteristic to have, is critique, being able for people to disagree with you without being disagreeable, right? And being able to resolve conflicts or come to a resolution. So I could add more, But I'll stop there. And one last thing I will say as leaders, I think, and I really do believe in this, I think all leaders need to be reflective, meaning that you should be able to look at yourself honestly and always try to do better. I'll stop and let Elaine add a little more.
Well, thank you, Dr. Fortune. That was excellent to hear your philosophy of leadership. I think that's truly coming through. I think just building on what you said about passion, yes, all of the leadership roles or responsibilities I've taken on, I've been passionate about some a little bit more than others. But again, having the opportunity to learn about what it's like to be in that leadership role and what it takes to be successful. I think the other thing I always reflect on is the whole is greater, or the whole is greater than the sum of the parts, or something like that. That together, all 20 of the elected members make a decision for the organization, reflecting on what they're bringing to the table, but not representing just one constituency.
That's right.
So we are there to make decisions that are to benefit the entire organization and not just some folks that may have voted for you or got elected. So oftentimes I hear people ask about financial experience, because an important role of the board, of course, is overseeing is the fiduciary responsibility and legal responsibility that we have, or the organization has as a nonprofit organization. And that is a skill that we can teach you. I hope that doesn't put off people to think about, wow, I don't know how to balance my checkbook. It's something that is learned also. It's a benefit of being on a board and getting that opportunity to see how organizational decisions are made about the budget and how the budget is built from the ground up, what the philosophy of the organization is in terms of its finances and its investments in many cases, how it wants to spend those resources. So I think hopefully that's not something will put people off in thinking they don't have the skill, because we do stress this in the orientation, and we give a thorough education. And you could become involved in the finance committee if that's an area that you really want to take a first step and understand a little bit more about how a nonprofit works, and maybe that transfers to a local chapter or a local volunteer organization you're also interested in serving on. And that gives me one other thought about the Uplifts course. So Kirsten, you talked a lot about the 5 areas that are included in the course, and the fact that you will be doing. Tell us a little bit why you decided to do both the synchronous and asynchronous component of this course.
Yes, great. Thank you, Elaine. I think as everybody's speaking today, I think, oh, that's in the course. I'm so glad, this is being mentioned and this leadership's being mentioned. So so the platform for the course, that we decided to do this because we really felt that this was going to be the best balance. This was going to be something where there are sessions that are broken up by module in some instances. Sometimes there are topics that are covered that are related to each other a little bit better. And we decided that having this self-directed time where you do your leadership assessment on your own and you learn some of the material and apply some of the practices through activities, it was just meant to be done individually. And then coming to a group where you have a cohort of learners who are doing the same activities as you are and being able to engage with them in a live session. So we are living in a virtual world, and we thought, well, wouldn't it be great to have sessions that there is some more instructor-led presentation, but we also have time to have discussion. We also have time to have breakout groups where we can work together and learn from each other. So we felt it very important to provide this to our learners, and also to be able to build on those times together in that live session through an intersession. So having these materials that build upon each other, but doing them in a way where we're not all sitting in front of our computer for 10 hours, but more of breaking up into sessions where it allows for engagement when it's needed.
Thank you. So one of the questions from our audience. So all of the asynchronous time would be approximately 1 hour of coursework. And then there was a question about, is there a differential in the cost for Sophe national members versus non-national members?
I can take the first part of that question. So the asynchronous sessions, it's actually made up of materials and content that are going to make up 2.5 hours per asynchronous session. So we're really looking at a total of 10. So each session is 2.5 hours. Now that is not just made up of lecture, that's made up of a 30-minute video followed by assessments, activities, and readings. We also have articles that have been selected on leadership principles and skills. So there are some article reflections built into that as well. As far as cost, I'm going to defer because I'm not sure about that.
Thank you for someone in the chat that documented and confirmed that there is a discount for members. So for non-members, it's $250, and for members, National Sophe members, $195. So it is a great value for anyone that is ready to take this next step in their career, especially when you can join Sophe very cost effectively and not only get access to this great course, but also all of the things that Dr. Sharf mentioned in terms of on the eLearn, our Sophe Center for Online Resources and Education, as well as our 3 journals, about 16 issues a year. So you can't beat the opportunity to enhance your career, both leadership and many other areas that we're grappling now with health education and health promotion. I'll go back to a little bit about what are some of, if all of you can give me a little bit of flavor for our viewers here, what are some of the issues that our Sophe board is now grappling with as we move forward? When we have a new administration, we're moving forward, and our country has really, thoughtfully addressing the issues of racial equity and social justice. What are some of the areas that you see Sophe being involved in the important leadership dialogue that we have to have over the coming next several years?
Well, I'll take a stab at that, right? And Elaine, you know that I'm passionate about this. I have a big concern about disinformation and misinformation. And there is you can say there's a racial component in terms of how messages are being targeted to people of color, particularly around COVID-19, the COVID-19 vaccine. There are targeted messages to young Black women of color. It's highly targeted, and it is actually disinformation about the COVID vaccine. And unfortunately, the young women actually believe what they are reading. I'm not trying to put down on social media, but that's where they're getting the information. And at my university, I had an intern this past semester. We worked with young women age 18 to 30 around COVID vaccine. So some of the information that came out was just really alarming in terms of having this mistrust in the vaccine. And we asked, what's the source of the information? And he said social media, but it's disinformation, misinformation. I think that we as a health education organization, we are poised to really address disinformation and misinformation. And it's a new area for us. Because, misinformation is just misrepresenting some information, but this whole thing of disinformation is purposeful, where on purpose, you are giving people false information, but it's usually for a reason, whether it's for a political reason or for a financial reason. And I think that's where we have to do some work as an organization in terms of, I think we need to provide guidance to our professional preparation programs on how do we prepare our future health educators in terms of dealing with misinformation for those who maybe work in the school setting, how do they teach that, as well as those who may be in the community setting. So I think we have some work to do, and I would love for the administration to reach out to Sophe and say, hey, we need health educators on our team. Thank you.
Yes.
Thank you.
And I'll chime in. My comment is related to Dr. Fortune's. I think we need to continue with the work that we put into our diversity, equity, and inclusion work that we've done as an organization. And this is in compliance with our Governance Task Force 2.0 recommendations, as well as our Health Equity and Anti-Racism Task Force. There's a lot that we've done over the years. We've addressed gaps. We've done a great job of finding the gaps, but now it's a matter of addressing the gaps that we've identified and make sure that we have inclusive spaces for all. And so making sure we're intentional and calling out racism and making sure that people know that racism is a social determinant of health, and how do we navigate that, working with racism as a social determinant of health, and be intentional about including individuals of all backgrounds within every sector of Sophie and the profession and the work that we do, and even with the constituents that we work with out in the field. I think that's where we're going to we're starting to see that at a national level, but we need to continue to fight the fight in order to make true change in our field. Because again, we pride ourselves on being those people who focus on behavioral change. And so there are several steps that lead to behavioral change. And in that process, we have to acknowledge the elephant in the room, which is racism, for sure.
Thank you, Antonio.
And I would like to say that I really feel, as somebody who works in professional development and leadership and have been with Sophie for a decade or longer, I really feel the professional preparation of our future leaders is key. I think from preparing at public health schools and colleges to professionals who are working in the field. I think our health educator roles in our profession is evolving. And I believe that if we want to continue to evolve, we need to make sure our preparation programs and our professional development programs are evolving with it. So I would like to see really intentional, much like the course that Sophie will be offering soon, and just all of our trainings and courses to be intentional with that growth.
Thank you. Thank you, Kirsten. Kind of, you alluded a little bit to also opportunities to publish in our pedagogy journal, which is really trying to uplift the scholarship of teaching and learning. And as someone, Kirsten, in particular, since your career path had also involved serving on the annual meeting for 2021 DX, what do you see as potential areas for faculty growth at our coming 2022 annual meeting? What kinds of abstracts would be good for submission to address those areas?
That's a great question. We have thought long and hard already with the planning committee as to what areas in pedagogy and teaching and learning in arts and public health can we really request from faculty and also professionals in practice. I think one of the things we've really focused on a lot is really communication in times of crises. So there has been a lot of work done over the last year on how we can best communicate, how we communicate the right information, not disinformation, as Dr. Fortune and Dr. Gardner were speaking of earlier, and really how to engage. So when we put out our call for abstracts, we will be looking for a lot of those abstracts to detail how communities were impacted, what the lessons learned were with some of the health education programs that were implemented in communities, vaccination programs, et cetera. And really, how can we do better next time? I mean, I think that's one of the things that we all want to hear about is, yes, we've done so many of these things well, but what can we do better? What can we do differently? So I think that's an opportunity for a lot of faculty and professionals to present on. And I think every community is unique. So I think we're going to have a lot of great areas of insight in the learning, teaching, and also the practice.
Thank you. Thank you. We're just getting to the top of the hour very shortly. So just a few more questions and we'll close. one of the issues that for many of our practitioners working in state and local health departments or healthcare settings might have limited resources to participate in an annual conference or some other way. And maybe Dr. Fortune, you want to talk a little bit about the scholarships that we make available to practitioners and also some of the other financial opportunities that they have in Sophe. None of these are paid positions, I want to underscore, but we do try to provide some incentive for people to get involved in. And in addition to obviously getting continuing education credit for under category 2 for your professional service, we do have some paid, or should say some ways to earn some scholarships to participate in Sophe conferences and the Advocacy Summit.
Yes, yes. Sophe, we provide opportunity. We have the 21st Century Scholar, in which they provide scholarship for our members, and you know, and that includes students as well. They can submit an application and get a scholarship to be able to attend our annual conference, and hopefully that conference will be in person next year. As well as our advocacy summit, which will be this fall. And right now that's going to be virtual. So we have that. And I know Dr. Gardner is working on a new opportunity, but let me mention this one that we're working on as well. One of my platform issues was to try to expand our reach to minority serving institutions. That includes historical Black colleges and universities. We've started already. And we're going to hopefully try to encourage and provide opportunities for students who are attending HBCU to apply for these funds so they can be able to attend our conference or maybe the Advocacy Summit. And I'll turn this over to Dr. Gardner, who actually have a little bit more information about how we're putting that together, particularly for our students and our HBCUs.
Yes, we're definitely trying to incorporate more, get more student representation, but as Elaine mentioned, we definitely want to see more practitioner representation where we can. So when we have opportunities to give funds, mainly through our 21st Century Scholarship funds, to those students and to those practitioners to attend our annual meetings and attend our advocacy summits, we definitely want to give you those funds. So definitely, please pay attention to the email from Sophe. I'm looking at some coming through right now, but please pay attention to the emails. Stay on top of those opportunities. You can't get the funds if you don't apply. We have money just sitting there that we're trying to give away. And speaking to the diversity piece, I'm developing a pipeline program, starting with the first pipe, of course. And I'll be sharing more information, hopefully in a future webinar similar to this format. But we'll start to address some of the diversity issues that we see at leadership and within all the leadership within the organization. So if you're an individual from a diverse background, BIPOC especially, please look out for those opportunities, which will be coming down the pipe very, very soon, pending board approval.
Thank you. We're looking forward to the new LEAD program, Dr. Gardner. I'm going to give a special shout out for those 21st Century scholarships for the Advocacy Summit. Our deadline is June 1st, so you still have time to apply. We're going to have 16 scholarships, $400 each. Some of those will be devoted specifically to practitioners. About 1/4 of those will be specifically for our practitioners. So please do apply. Advocacy is a key leadership skill. So they very much link together and might be a nice launch after you take the Uplifts course to actually participate in the Advocacy Summit and take your voice to Capitol Hill. So I'm going to just roll to our last slide here today, and thank you all. I want to first of all thank our eminent speakers that have been with us here, Dr. Gardner, Dr. Fortune, and Dr. Rogers, and Dr. Scharf, who is on video with us. I want to underscore our upcoming webinars that you can participate in, some going on in the next 2 weeks before the end of the month. And then a reminder that part 2 of our leadership and nominations invitation to you all will be held on June 7th from 2 to 3 p.m. Again, we welcome everyone, and we'll be doing some breakouts so you can get a chance to be up close and personal with other board members and ask them some of the questions that you're dying to know. And with that, I want to thank everyone for joining us again for today's presentation and your enthusiasm for being involved. We hope we gave you some good ideas to consider. And whether that's at the chapter level or at the national level, your leadership in Sophe is so critical to our success in health promotion and disease prevention. We need strong leaders, we need strong faculty, and we need those practitioners on the ground. I'd like to leave you with one last thought that a very near and dear Sophe president always stressed during her presidency to us. That was Kieran Denard Goldman, who actually wrote several books that you might have on your bookshelf, Tools of the Trade. And she remarked, "Behold the turtle. She only gets ahead when she sticks her neck out." So I hope that gives us all a motivation to stick our necks out and take that next leadership step forward. And I want to thank everyone for joining us this afternoon. Have a good day.